if you could take a moment and go to thegrowingbanddirector.com to give at least $5 or $3 a month, and it helps the content continue to be created for you to help our profession grow. Let's go back to our scheduled episode. Welcome back to the Growing Band Director podcast. This is episode number 258, part two of the case for transcriptions. This is part two of my mission to convince some people that they need to play some transcriptions, some stuff that was not originally written for band, whether it be written for piano, usually for orchestra, sometimes orchestra and musicals and things like that. We're not really talking about like pops music. That stuff is great, but this is really more about classic literature that's by composers that are really huge names that obviously we're not really alive to write much for the band world, but have been transcribed for us. So I'm trying to include some different ability levels in here. Again, most of these fall into the 3-4 range. If you listen to episode 257, there was some grades 1 and 2. Go back and check those out. To be honest, I'm sure there's a bunch more. What I would do if you're looking for more grade 2 or more grade 1, go back into Pepper and just put in transcription and then choose your grade, or put in Shostakovich and choose easy and see what comes up, or Bach or whatever it may be. So transcriptions are fantastic music, and I love new music for band, and I love music that was originally written for band, but I also love transcriptions. Why do I love transcriptions? The storylines that frequently go along with these pieces, like in operas, like what was actually happening in the story of this piece, or a Beethoven symphony or something like that. There's so much in here that we can learn. The classics are classics for a reason. If we know about a piece 300 years later, there's probably a reason. There's a depth to this music that we can help our students explore. And odds are, if we don't play it in the band, they're not going to experience these pieces anywhere else. Most of them might not play in an orchestra. They won't play piano for these pieces. This is really our way to open them up to a greater world, our students up to a greater world. Students, most importantly, need to study history and the lessons held within the history. What was happening in the world at that time? Why was this piece written? And is there a message behind it? What was new about the piece at the time? And there's so many cross connections to these pieces. And for a student to play a piece of Bach, I mean, that's just awesome. I loved my high school music. We didn't get to play any Bach. There's so much great music that's out there. A lot of people think, my students already know that music. No, they don't. They haven't played any Bach. They haven't played any Shostakovich. They haven't played any Bernstein unless you've played it with them. Now, maybe you're in a situation where your students have done that. Most have not. So if you think they already know the music, they don't. Students, contrary to what you think, will like the piece if you like the piece. If you can sell the piece, your approach on the piece is everything. You can get them to fall in love with Bach or Bernstein or Shostakovich or Puccini. There's all these great pieces. I'll also say this is not a comprehensive list in any way. I think I'm providing 16, 17 pieces or so for you. There are so many other great transcriptions that I'm not including here that hopefully you'll go back and check out as well. Other reasons people don't, they think they're too hard for their students. So in that case, we got to work on finding some that might fit yours. And we do have some that are really great pieces in here. And sometimes we're always looking for the newest piece. Yeah, new is cool, but like things are so old that they're new, right? Like if students are playing Bach, like that's really new to them because it's so old they haven't really played any of it. So consider a transcription a year. Start with that. Can you get one transcription in a year? For my groups, we usually play somewhere around 20 pieces, and I usually try to get one transcription in there, sometimes more. And I know teachers who play a lot of transcriptions, and that's great too. We're going to start with one of my favorite pieces of music. This is the Shostakovich Prelude in E flat minor. It's probably a grade 4. If you have a trumpet player who can play up to high E flat and trombones who can play up to high F, it's a great thing. So E flat, it's the shortest piece ever. I mean, it's 2 minutes long. It goes straight up and then straight down, culminating in the high E flat for trumpet. Anyway, it starts with this rich, dark F minor clarinet sound. So if you know anything about clarinet, of course, like low F is such a great note. Well, E flat minor for them is F minor, and the opening choir includes contrabass clarinet and bass clarinets and all the clarinets. I mean, it's like the darkest thing ever. And then the greatest French horn part, because Shostakovich has this way of just writing the single melodic line where there's nothing else happening and just epic sounds. There's even part of this where the trombones are playing, and it almost sounds like the beginning of a John Williams movie piece. Well, obviously, this was written before John Williams, so classic music. This is just fantastic. Here's the Shostakovich Prelude in E flat minor. For something very different. This is probably the most classic transcription. If people don't know a transcription and they want one that most grade three and above bands can play, it's the Bach Prelude and Fugue in B flat major, arranged by Mollmann, again, originally by Bach. So the Prelude and the Fugue, I will be honest with you, I've done the Prelude as written. I've also done the Prelude with no repeats. Sometimes just a 6-minute piece where they're playing the whole time is a lot for a grade three band. Well, you take out the repeats, and a music history professor might fight me on that one, but I turn the piece into a 3-minute, 45-second piece, and it works really, really well. First of all, everything you can teach within this piece is fantastic and be done. It could be done at 4/4, 120 beats a minute. It could be done at cut time at 60. You can float in between. So much great moving parts. I found the students fall in love with this piece if I can sell it right. It only comes with a timpani part. If you're looking to do this at any point, I have written great percussion parts that I'm happy to share with you that I've used with my students that work really, really well, that do not distract from the music, but help enhance what the winds are doing. So here's part of the Bach Prelude and Fugue in B flat major. Sponsorship for today's podcast is provided in part by Austin Custom Brass. Austin Custom Brass is the largest Adams brass dealer in the United States. Adams Brass makes some of the world's finest trumpets, flugelhorns, trombones, euphoniums, and tubas. Find out why some of the most renowned musicians in the world play Adams Brass, like many of the brass musicians from the Rotterdam Philharmonic Orchestra. Trent Austin, founder of Austin Custom Brass, is also an Adams artist. You can call Austin Custom Brass today at 816-410-0826 to learn more about Adams Brass, or visit their website at www.austincustombrass.biz. Austin Custom Brass is located in Kansas City, Missouri. You can visit their shop to try Adams Brass instruments and many other brands of instruments, or you can call them online, have stuff shipped to you. They work with an entire band program. You can do bids in the PO process and fit within your budget and all that. They are an amazing resource for brass players. Check them out. Actually, a huge thanks goes out to Alfred Music and Chris Bernatas. I just reached out to him this morning before I was going to record this, and I said, man, I really wish that La Tragenda, arranged by Brian Beck, was available on Score and Sound, or I can get an MP3 of it, because I've listened to it and I've done it a couple times. It's just fantastic music from the opera, was it La Ville by Puccini? And Puccini, and thanks to Chris and Alfred Music, they actually got it up today. And so we'll be providing that Score and Sound, and you can find it as well. Puccini originally wrote this La Tragenda as one of the two movements to be used as a symphonic intermezzi between two acts of the opera. The legend of La Ville is explained: when a woman dies of a broken heart, the fairies force the heartbreaker to dance himself to death. This is sort of like very sort of witch sounding music. And it's probably a grade 4. Great trumpet parts, great woodwind parts. Not too crazy, but you definitely need to have some trumpets who can hang on this one with the double tonguing. And it's really just fantastic transcription that Brian Beck has done. I don't know Brian Beck. If anybody knows him, please reach out to me. I'd love to get in contact with him and learn more about his writing. He does a fantastic job. Here's his La Tragenda by Puccini. One of the best pieces of music by Bernstein was his Candide, and we're going to listen to the overture later. But the finale of Candide is called Make Our Garden Grow, a gorgeous ballad and such uplifting music. Great woodwind writing, great brass writing. It's originally about this hope for the future and cultivating a garden. And, is that a garden, or is that your life, or is that your relationships, or however? This is arranged by Joseph Krines. I think it was done about 10 years ago. It's just fantastic. Not a lot of percussion. There's a mallet percussion part, which could be doubled on this, as well as a percussion part as well, and a timpani part. Just fantastic writing. This is from the climax and finale of Candide. Here's Make Our Garden Grow by Bernstein.
Excelsior Music Publishing is proud to sponsor the Growing Band Director podcast. Excelsior Music Publishing provides new music for concert band, jazz ensemble, solo and ensemble, and books for all levels and occasions, including a specially curated and robust selection of music for your contest and festival performances. A variety of overtures, marches, and lyric works included on numerous state lists await. Select music that's perfect for your contest and festival needs at excelsiormusic.com. That's EXCELCIA music.com.
So many of us know the Maurice Ravel piece, Bolero, which is a 15-minute or so, depending on the recording, crescendo, right? I mean, the whole thing is just this big, awesome crescendo. And the arrangement that we're going to look at has been arranged. Let's see, who's the arranger? I don't know why I lost this. Oh, of course, Jay Bocook. And he did a fantastic job with this arrangement. He puts it all into about 4 minutes or so. He gets all the original stuff from there, including the bolero snare drum rhythm. Just fantastic piece of music, and great for teaching students again about a classic orchestral piece. Here's the J. Pocock arrangement of Bolero by Maurice Ravel. The standard transcription of Elsa's procession to the cathedral is done by Kaye, who was actually originally from, I think, the Philadelphia Philharmonic or Philadelphia Orchestra, and also ran the town band of Allentown, Philadelphia, as far as I knew. 1938 was when that came out. So many of us know it. It's really hard. It's really great because all the clarinets have to play up high in unison with flutes. It's just fantastic writing. If you're looking for an easier version, again, I'm going to go to Jay Bocook. I'm not sure what level this is, to be honest with you. I think they call it, MusicWorks calls it a grade 3. This is Elsa's Procession to the Cathedral by Richard Wagner, arranged by Jay Bocook. Let's see, again, percussion 1 and 2, mallet percussion, timpani, and just scored a lot more safely for bands who might not be ready for the Kaye original version. So here's the J. Pocock take on Elsa's procession to the cathedral. It's about 2 minutes and 40 seconds long. Thanks everybody again for following along and doing what you do for kids. Hopefully this podcast is helping you in some small way as also as well for your band. This arrangement of this is a great Copeland piece. There's so many Copeland things we have not gotten to. Down a Country Lane. If you haven't listened to that, I did an episode on that last year. Fantastic piece of music at the grade 2 level. Of course, it's not really a 2. We call it a 2, but it's really hard. But this is Fanfare for the Common Man, one of the great pieces of music. Copeland was so into writing music based on fourths and fifths that they're very hard to tune, and especially in the original keys. I think the original is in B flat, if I'm not mistaken, and is quite hard. Great percussion parts, great brass writing. It's originally for brass choir, I believe. This setting is by Robert Longfield for full band. I'm trying to look for the grade level here. It looks like it's grade 3. Arguably the most famous fanfare ever written. Now available in a version written for standard wind band instrumentation and playable by most bands. It's funny how they say that. I know a lot of bands who are not able to play this, but that's all right. The key has been lowered and technical demands have been modified. However, the superb adaptation still maintains all the power and majesty of the original. So here's a 3-minute version or so of one of the greatest pieces of music, Best Fanfare, by Aaron Copland, Fanfare for the Common Man. We sincerely appreciate you taking your valuable time and listening to the Growing Band Director podcast. Your students are very lucky to have a band director like you. If you have any suggestions for episode topics or think you have an area of expertise to share on a show with us, please reach out. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your band director friends to subscribe as well. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening to The Growing Band Director. See you next week.